sale.
Oh, yeah, we got to mention the sale, too, because it ends, tomorrow?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Just Another Effing Podcast. I am your host. I may not know much, but what I do have are a very particular set of skills I have acquired over a very long career. It's your boy, the JFB, James from Boston.
People know me as the enlightened one. People know me as your Canadian hero. But you all know me as Canada Dry.
Yeah. Canada Dry, baby. Woo. All right.
Come on, let's do it.
So before we get to the news and to the meat of our podcast, we wanted to go ahead and talk about in general the internet wrestling community.
Well, specifically our wrestling community.
Yeah. So effing wrestling is something that Canada Dry started to really bring together everybody who's a fan of pro wrestling to come in and not have to worry about exclusivity and being called out or being called stupid and or being taken advantage of, which unfortunately.
Well, let's go into that just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It was birthed out of bullying.
Yeah.
And we made a separate chat, and that chat turned into effing wrestling. So without that bullying, we're not here today. And without who we're going to talk about next, maybe we're not here today.
Yeah. So there's a group that was out there called Pro Wrestling Junkies. And I'm sure probably a vast majority of you were either part of the group, heard in passing about the group.
Well, 35K were part of that. Maybe not the group, but the page.
Yeah, the page itself. Yeah. And so they did really cool stuff. They had trivia contests. They have a series of podcasts. They would do card breaks where they would bust open a brick of cards and would auction off the chase cards, the autograph cards.
They had Kenny Omega. They had Bret Hart.
Yeah, they had virtual Q&As, which was really cool. I
wasn't able to be part of any of them because,
Yeah, they had some big names come in. Eddie Kingston was one, and but unfortunately, there were people on that page that were a little fugazi. Yeah, they were not. They were greedy. And they took advantage of the wrestling community.
So they were selling stuff that was autographed, that wasn't autographed yet.
Yeah.
As I guess they were going to fake the autograph or what?
I mean, supposedly you were going to send it in. They would send it out to the wrestler, and the wrestler would send it back. There was issues with autographs. There was the big thing that came out, and it's made some of the dirt sheets as well, where they were talking about selling tickets to events.
Well, the main event is coming up All Out.
Yeah, and SummerSlam supposedly, and there are just some people who think that the internet wrestling community and wrestling fans in general is stupid. And in case. The case was that's not the case. It took a concerted effort of a lot of people in our circle per se, that
especially Dirt Sheet Radio. We want to give a shout out to you guys.
Yeah.
Dirt Sheet Radio, you did the great. You led the charge, and without you starting that, we're very thankful to you. Shout out to you, Dirt Sheet Radio.
Yeah, Dirt Sheet Radio broke the news, and pretty much after that, it just avalanched, and there were people coming out of the woodworks, people being swindled and taken for money. And it's unfortunate because we're not stupid. We're as passionate and as smart as any fan of any other genre of music or movies or whatever,
And they had a Q&A markout session with Lance Archer planned, and I guess he didn't know. And so we reached out, not we, but the wrestling community reached out to him and made sure that he was aware of it. And then Chris Jericho retweeted it, and it was all over for Pro Wrestling Junkies.
Yeah, pretty much at that point, everybody knew. As soon as you get Jericho, he's got millions upon millions of followers, it kind of just the walls just came tumbling down at that point.
The walls of Jericho.
The walls of Jericho. So, needless to say,
break the walls down.
If in fact it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And,
order your tickets from reputable sources.
Yeah.
Ticketmaster, and there's a few others like StubHub, but order them from reputable sources. If it's too good to be true,
it probably is. It probably is. So let's get to the news. We had big news week. We had the unfortunate passing Del Wilkes, better known as the Patriot, passed away this past week.
Question about Del Wilkes. I only knew him in WWF when he had that big match with Bret Hart.
Yep.
But was he a masked wrestler before this?
He was. He wrestled as the Patriot in WCW and the NWA as well.
Oh, so he was able to keep that Patriot name through as his gimmick the whole time.
Yeah, he owned the rights to it, even though kind of another guy, brother, kind of stole that gimmick a little bit.
What was Hulk Hogan going under? Was he
Captain or Mr. Captain America?
Oh, yeah, Mr. America, I think it was.
Mr. America, that's it. But anytime you had an anti-American wrestler and you needed to bring in a babyface to generate even more heat for the heel, you brought in.
His WWF career was really short.
Yeah, he would come in and out occasionally. It's usually against a foreign.
Like he got that big match against Bret.
Yep, huge match against Bret.
And I remember DX threw the coffee in his face.
Yep.
And then I don't think we saw much of him after that.
Nope. After that, he went right back.
I wonder if he was a victim of politics.
Possibly. He's got a sketchy past.
Okay.
I know he is not well liked amongst the community.
So I didn't know he's sick. This came out of the blue.
Yeah, it came out of the blue. I had no idea he was sick either. It just kind of came out. Our next one is Mercedes Martinez took a kick to the head and was actually physically knocked out on an NXT episode by Xia Li. That kick was flush to the side of her head, and she just flopped down.
I'm so sick of these, especially women.
Yeah.
They don't know how to give a kick to the head. If you haven't got this down perfect, I'm serious. Stop doing it.
Yeah. Because you're going to kill someone.
So many women are getting concussions.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how to kick somebody.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. But she got concussion. She went to the hospital. They checked her out of the hospital a couple hours after. But she's not been on TV. They don't expect her to be on TV for a couple more weeks while she's going through concussion protocol. So. And
who's the one that did the kick?
Xia Li.
She needs some heat on her. Like, come on.
Oh, she's got heat on her. Yeah, she's got some heat on her. Bea Priestley has officially joined NXT UK.
And what's her new name?
Blair Davenport.
Blair Davenport. It's very British, right?
What's wrong with Bea Priestley? I know at WWE they want to own the.
Well, they have to get the priest name going with the other guy. So.
Oh, geez. But yeah, so Will Ospreay's beautiful wife is now known as Blair Davenport. Rebel Not Reba actually was hurt as well at the Dynamite last week.
And so she hurt her leg. Is that what it is?
I think it was her knee. Yeah. So
it looks like she just landed wrong. I don't think it was anyone's fault.
Yeah. So no word on her yet as to what's going on. WWE came out with a list of their top 50 tag teams of all time. Canada Dry, do you want to take a stab at who's number one? Who would be number one in your book of all time?
For me, you can pick one. I'll pick one. I'm going Heart Foundation, number one all time.
Yeah. Road Warriors comes to mind.
Well, I think you could flip-flop those two all day long.
Oh, yeah.
1 and 2. The one thing I'd say about the Road Warriors to really cement them as the greatest.
Yeah.
They needed a heel run. They didn't really get it.
They didn't, no.
If they had a heel run, oh my goodness. But having a heel run as a tag team is so important.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they had a heel run, but it was in WCW, NWA, and the AWA. They never had, and Japan, but they never had it while with WWE. But apparently, WWE thinks the New Day is the greatest.
Oh, is this someone they have under contract? Miraculously, they have the best tag team in history.
It is
on their list.
It is very weird to see the New Day. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to get any haters that are sending us hate tweets.
The New Day are great.
The New Day are fantastic, but as all time,
the
Usos
are great.
Yeah, the Usos are great. I love the Usos,
but they're not. See, the problem is I hate when people are put who are wrestling now as the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
because it's just burying the people of the past, and there's so many great teams out there.
Yeah, they're cutting off the face despite the nose.
Yeah,
but yeah, apparently,
it's wrestling, and you're all about promoting what you got under contract today.
Yeah, no news, good news, bad news is all good news. So, WWE had more releases this time from corporate. However, Nick Khan was heard and John Laurinaitis was heard saying that we could see possibly a few more wrestlers getting cut as well. So no official word yet, but they're leaning, they're getting their ship to be mean and lean. To me, this means one thing. I think they're going to merge, even though there's rumors about the draft in August, I have a feeling they're going to merge together the rosters into one cohesive group instead of rosters.
Yeah, it's interesting. They had the announcement of the draft. So how are you going to do that unless you're having a meaner, leaner draft? And then I guess they could slowly
integrate,
or they do a swerve. There is no draft. You guys are all on the same roster.
Yeah. So Ronda Rousey is having a baby girl. Congratulations to Ronda Rousey.
Congratulations to the rowdy one.
Yeah. So it's going to be a while before we see her. She's about 4 or 5 months pregnant, I think. So if she does come back to WWE, it won't be at least for this year. It'll probably be in late next year.
Well, I think the perfect thing for Ronda Rousey in wrestling is to do a limited amount of dates.
Yeah.
Have her for WrestleManias and SummerSlams and just a couple big pay-per-views.
Yeah, the big four.
Yeah, just and then a couple matches to kind of hype it up.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to wish a happy birthday to the excellence of execution, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
The best ever will be.
Bret Hart, happy birthday. 64 years young. And looks just as good as the day he was wrestling in WWE in the 80s and 90s. He looks fantastic.
He's just saying no to that hit. The Just for Men hair color.
Yes. He's finally going legit gray and no longer dyeing his hair.
He's just happy just being natural and being the grandpa.
Yep. He loves being a grandpa, that's for sure.
Did you see the happy birthday video that he posted on Instagram with his grandchild? It was pretty good.
Yep. It's good to see the Hitman doing well after all the stroke and the other medical issues he's had over the past. It's good.
Yeah, and I really enjoy seeing him with his family and the grandchildren. And
it's good to have the Hitman kind of in a good place. AEW is no longer on Fridays and Saturdays. It's back on Wednesday where it rightfully belongs. 840,000 plus people watched it on AEW Dynamite Wednesday. So that's the initial viewing. That doesn't include the +5s or the +6s.
Well, that almost makes me think that their Friday show, they should rethink that because their numbers were so bad.
Yeah. Friday is not an easy.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe move Rampage to Saturday because it did a lot better on Saturday. So
it did do a little bit better on Saturday, yeah, or Sunday. Put it on Sunday, but it's a little too close to Wednesday too. When you do a Sunday Wednesday, especially if you're on the road and they're doing 2 separate shows. Zelina Vega, surprise! Everybody thought she was.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, everybody thought she was going to go to AEW. She was going to be Vicky's replacement. and Andrade's special announcement, but she showed up at SmackDown and is officially in Money in the Bank. So I guess I guess she deleted that tweet that she's all for unionization of creating a union for wrestlers. I don't see that.
You know what? Money talks, and you know, the WWE saw that AEW was interested.
Yeah.
Whenever AEW is interested, I guess AEW is like a shark in the water. Kind of makes WWE kind of grab on.
Tony Khan's nipping at the back heels of Vince and company. For as long as they've been in business, which is not really that long. It's been only a couple years. They're doing good numbers, and they're getting good wrestlers, and they're having great storylines, and they're just nipping at the heels of Vince. And our final one, the 33rd anniversary of Adrian Adonis's death. We are huge fans of Adrian Adonis. We have a Twitter account at Real Keith Frank, Franke, and we are good friends.
We have the honor of running that for the family.
Yeah,
and we're going to come out straight and say it. We're trying to get Adrian in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
and that's the goal, is to get Adrian Adonis in the Hall of Fame. So tweet Vince and tweet WWE, and maybe even Tony Khan. One day we'll honor him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy who was a great worker. I think he was as charismatic, if not more, than your big stars at that time, Macho Man and Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. I think he has just as much charisma, just as much energy. Had great character development with the Flower Shop and with Jimmy Hart, who I hope one day we can get on the show and kind of talk about Adrian's life when he was wrestling for WWE.
Yeah.
So, but the big reason why we're here, the meat of our episode, if you will, the auditory orgasm we're about to give you as we speak out sweet nothings into your ear about the Chyna documentary that was on Vice. So
this is a little bit emotional for both of us. That documentary exposed a lot of the underbelly of wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's getting exposed more and more. You can't hide the dark side of wrestling for very long. It's out there now.
Yeah, and what I would suggest is, if you haven't watched the episode, it's on the Vice channel. It's on
not a dark side of the ring.
Yeah,
it's a vice versa doc.
Yeah, it's a vice versa doc. Pause our podcast or our video. Go watch it really quick, and then come back, and we can talk about the life of Chyna. So before we get into the documentary, I wanted to go ahead and just throw out a couple really quick facts about her. She was born Joan Marie Laurer on December 27th. She was almost a Christmas baby.
Wow.
Almost a Christmas baby. December 27, 1969 in Rochester, New York. Home also of another wrestler that died way too early, and that would be Brody Lee, was also from Rochester, New York.
Right.
She was the youngest of three daughters.
Wow, her sister looks so much like her.
Oh yeah.
Especially after
apparently the other sister looks just like her too.
Very you wouldn't see it before the surgery that she had.
Yeah.
But now, they totally look.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. The first thing I want to say is the one line of dialogue that Mick Foley had. Mick Foley was featured prominent in this documentary, and he says, "You have to trust people with your body in the ring. That trust makes you flourish, but trust outside the ring can be your downfall." To me, that was the theme. I think the overlying theme of this.
I also have something I want to say in that sort of light. It was Voltaire that said, "To the living, we owe respect. To the dead, we owe only the truth."
Yeah.
And that's what we want to share today.
Yeah, it's a trust and truth are a huge plot throughout this entire documentary. For those who don't know, so apparently her manager hired a documentary crew to come and do a documentary.
And his name was Eric. Sorry, I wasn't able to get the Eric. You got his name?
The manager.
The manager is Anthony Azaldo.
Yeah.
The filmmaker.
Eric was the director.
We don't know his last name?
No, I don't have his last name.
Shoot. But Eric, he was addicted to heroin.
Yeah.
While doing this.
Yeah.
So like.
Yeah, so apparently what happened was Anthony contacted Eric and we're trying to do a documentary of her comeback. So she's been living in Japan for a few years teaching English.
She's been converted to Mormonism.
Yeah, she converted to the Church of Latter-day Saints.
She's living a peaceful life, and she's doing okay.
Yeah, she's doing great. You know, she's obviously still taking medication for her mental illness. And Anthony, her manager, decides to bring her back to the United States. Going to put her on.
You know what I think played a huge role in this?
Oh yeah, he's.
No, I was gonna say. Do you know what I think played a huge role in this?
Oh, what do you think played a huge role?
Was the Jake the Snake documentary?
Yeah.
Because they saw money when they saw how well the Jake the Snake documentary did.
Oh yeah, it was huge.
And it was like, well, we can do this with Joni.
Yeah.
Then cha-ching.
Yeah.
But how Jake the Snakes was done and how this was done, not the same.
No, not even close. I mean, if you haven't seen Jake the Snake Roberts, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, The Resurrection of Jake Roberts, it's fantastic. If you really want to see how low Jake the Snake Roberts got, Beyond the Mat features Jake the Snake Roberts at.
But it's also in this documentary as well.
Yeah.
But they showed the other side, and they see him coming out of it as well. So that's the big thing about that one.
Right. And with the Chyna, I think that's what they were trying to do is trying to get her to make a comeback. He was putting her on the Comic-Con circuit to sign autographs and stuff. And they lost control of the documentary.
Well, let's talk about the fact that, let's start about her childhood. She's a bit of an oddball looking the way she does, right?
Yeah, she had she was, her parents divorced at a very young age. She had multiple stepfathers, multiple stepmothers. Her father was an alcoholic. He was a drug abuser. He actually tried to stab her mom he actually did stab her mom with a butcher's knife.
Look, she's not having an easy time at school. I guarantee you that. Looking the way she does, like she's huge. She's got a bit of that sort of manly featured chin, like and so she decides to become a professional, to start training to be a professional wrestler.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because she starts with wanting to do bodybuilding and fitness competitions, where we meet probably the only guy in the whole documentary who actually treated her well, and that was Jerry. He was her workout partner. He was her trainer. He was also
she trained at Killer Kowalski's school.
Yeah, but he trained her for fitness before she got into the wrestling biz, and got her into fitness competitions, and was probably her first like real serious boyfriend at that time. And he comes off looking very good. I mean, I think he still loves Joni or Chyna, and I don't see anything but admiration for her and pain in the loss of her than when you watch Jerry being interviewed for the documentary. What did you think of Jerry?
I thought Jerry came off great as well. Just taking this someone who be investing their time in and helping them.
Yeah, he had no ulterior motive, at least not
Okay.
any that we knew of. He wanted her to be successful, and even when she broke into wrestling and eventually made it big in WWE, instead of being the jealous boyfriend and all this other jazz, and knowing that she's on the road with Triple H, which we'll get into, he stepped back and eventually phased out of the relationship, and still kept in contact with her, and then got in contact with her when she came back to the States. And
Didn't Triple H train with Killer Kowalski too? Is
he
that
did, yeah.
so? Is that somehow how they got in connection?
I know she said that they met randomly at a bar that a friend of her, they had mutual friends, and that's how they met. She talked to Shawn Michaels and Triple H because they were riding at the time together, and they actually brought it to Vince, and Vince said no. He didn't want Chyna. He didn't like her look. Because back in the day, you didn't really have women wrestlers. You had ballet.
And this is the time when the women are getting sexier and sexier, and
yeah, women like Deborah McMichaels, where
Sunny, and
you didn't have Trish Stratus, you didn't have Lita, you didn't have Ivory, and female wrestlers who could wrestle. Most of them were super feminine, very girly, very sexy, and they sexualized.
Yeah, Trish Stratus hadn't even been debuted yet when she.
Yeah, not even close. Yeah, and so Vince said no, and Triple H and Shawn Michaels really pushed for it. And finally, Vince broke down and said, "Okay, fine, she can be your bodyguard." We got first introduced to Joni as Chyna when she jumped the rail and grabbed a hold of Molena and started shaking her like a rag doll.
And that was so epic.
Yeah,
that was epic.
Yeah, and it's funny because guys like Billy Gunn and they were all amazed at her beauty and her strength. Like, she had something about her, and Billy Gunn was like, wow, like this woman is amazing.
She really reminded you of Xena the Warrior Princess.
Yeah, she did. I mean, she was very built and very big, but she had very mannish features. And of course, the internet, well, at that time, not the internet wrestling community, but definitely bulletin board wrestling.
I remember a Slammy Award.
Yeah.
Where someone made a joke about who has the willy, Triple H or Chyna.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just thinking about that. I'm like, how heartless.
Yeah.
You're saying this on live TV.
Yep.
And that's
and that wouldn't float nowadays, and
yeah,
actually
we had the Bella twins come out this week apologizing for what they said on the Joan Rivers talk show.
Yeah, making comments about her mannish figure, mannish face. We don't know if she's.
And they said something about a woman. They said something about a penis as well. Joan Rivers said it. They all laughed.
Yeah.
So
she became more consumed and very focused on appearing more feminine. She was a frequent guest on Howard Stern, where she talked about her surgeries.
And let me just add this. Howard Stern, you're a piece of crap. Like, those questions that Howard Stern would pose to her.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah. Well, he's a shock jock.
I know, but still, he's a piece of crap.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's another guy taking advantage of her, and that's a common theme.
In the documentary, Howard Stern and those questions, and he would play both sides of the coin, and I didn't like it. It made me upset.
No, it made me upset too. And I've never been a huge fan of Howard Stern, but she went and got facial reconstruction surgery. She got breast implants. She actually had breast implants, and one of them burst while she was wrestling. So she went and got them redone. She thought they were just too big.
Did she get the facial chin surgery the same time as the boobs.
Yeah. And then when she went for the second time after the first one's ruptured, they actually call that style the Chyna 2000, which was breast implants that were designed for women who were very tall, very broad shouldered, had a very big physique.
And I remember just being like, she looks a lot different. Like it was almost overnight that she was gone, and then
yeah. So I mean, it was relatively quick. I mean,
and the muscles started toning down on her as well.
What's that?
She wasn't quite as built.
No, she wasn't. I mean,
after like when she first came in, she was like, she had the giant muscles, and she slowly started going more feminine.
Yeah, she started toning herself. So instead of bodybuilding, she's training more efficiently to become more lean rather than bulkier.
And more, it's something that she missed her whole life, is being this sexual sort of beautiful woman.
Yeah, the sex symbol.
Yeah, she never had that, and I guess she craved it.
Yeah, you know. The one thing in the documentary that really kind of made me think a lot was as she became more feminine, and she wasn't wrestling as much against guys like Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero. She started becoming more of a spokesperson than a wrestler. And then she started wrestling women way more than men. And eventually.
So just to back it up a bit here. So Jim Cornette kind of talked about this. He reviewed it. He wasn't a fan of hers as a worker. Big surprise. But he made a good point that Chyna wrestling with men makes Chyna look a lot better.
Yeah.
Because it's more believable. Women can't, her size, they can't throw her around and do those moves to her. So it worked out better. He didn't like her as a worker. That was surprising.
Yeah, that was surprising. And I mean, let's not forget that she was a 2-time Intercontinental champion. She was actually a #1 contender for the World Championship, for the heavyweight title. She was also the first female entrant in the Royal Rumble.
So Anthony Azaldo, her manager, said that when she appeared in Playboy, Vince said, Vince makes promises. I don't know if this is true or not, and we can't trust Anthony Azaldo's word.
Yeah, we'll get into Anthony for sure.
Yeah, he said that if she didn't pose in Playboy, she would have had a world title run.
Yeah. She made more. She made more doing Playboy than she did 5 years wrestling for Vince, which should tell you something about where Vince puts priority for.
And it also filled that need to feel, a certain way about herself, because she was a butch kid and probably made fun of a lot, and so this probably helped her feel sexy and feminine and beautiful.
Well, and then they repackaged her as a diva, which I thought was just ridiculous. They had her in more sparkly outfits. They had her hair teased up really big.
Yeah, this is at the time after, like, once Triple H and Stephanie are done.
Yeah.
A bunch of Triple H and Stephanie are out and they're together now.
Yeah.
And Chyna's feeling this awkwardness. So she's kind of pushed down the card.
Yeah, quite a bit, and getting stuck with the diva, the diva insignia, if you will, is kind of a death nail at that time.
At this point, we don't have the women's champion. Well, we have the women's. I think it did.
Well, we had the diva belt.
They were called divas. So yeah.
Yeah, they were called divas at that time. It's. It took away what made Chyna special. And it was really bad. It was really distressing.
Think about this. Imagine you're competing for the world championship, and then all of a sudden they put you in the cruiserweight division. It wouldn't happen.
No.
No, you are now a legit star in the world title scene.
Yep.
And they wouldn't throw you back in the cruiserweight.
No.
Never happened.
And I mean, it's a lot of people will accuse Vince of millions of things that Vince has ever done in his career. But if you curried favor with the boss, you got put over. For example, you look at Hulk Hogan. As a technical wrestler, he was not a technical wrestler. But he curried favor with Vince McMahon.
Well, I'm just going to come out and say it. I
Yeah.
think that it was Triple H's fault that she ended up being a diva again.
It
wouldn't
politics, shock or surprise me.
Yeah, he's got politics, and he's now dating and marrying the boss's daughter.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Let's because that's a big issue with a lot of people. So for those who don't know, and thank you for joining in after watching the documentary, Triple H and Chyna had a romance. They traveled together. Eventually, they fell in love, started dating. They even moved in together. And what happened was we got Triple H thrown into another storyline. This is after DX broke up. Triple H is thrown into the storyline where he drugs, kidnaps, and then marries Stephanie in a drive-through chapel in Vegas, which I've been to. I've driven by it in Vegas, so it's a legit.
He pretty much steals her from Test.
Yeah, steals her from Test, and then in being in that storyline, they actually fall in love, and depending on who you talk to,
being kept secret from Chyna. He's still dating Chyna.
Yeah,
but it's a secret romance.
Yeah, Chyna has come out publicly and said that she found love letters a year prior to them breaking up from Stephanie to Paul, Triple H, and confessing her love to him. And so you kind of wonder, because Chyna's come out on Vince Russo's podcast, and where she was a very frequent guest and talked about the relationship and the dynamic between the three of them in that love triangle. Here's what I thought was really interesting, and that is Kathy, Chyna's sister, actually told Bleacher Report that while Paul was really good to Joni, Triple H, they disagreed about children. He wanted them and she didn't. Kathy also said that her mental illness and addictions contributed to their relationship ending, and says that Paul Triple H stuck it out with her until it was too much to handle with her addictions and her mental illness issues as well. And so you're getting two sides of the coin. You're getting Kathy, and then you're getting, Joni's obviously her opinion and how she saw it. But yeah, I mean, when you're Triple H and you're in that position, Triple H will always be accused of burying talent.
Well, she eventually had wanted her contract renewed, and she wanted $1 million.
Yeah,
and they didn't see it in her. So
yeah. And it's actually interesting because I just listened to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, which is a great podcast. And they were talking about King of the Ring, and they just happened to mention Chyna getting ready to leave. And Bruce said that, the $1 million wasn't exactly true per se. She did ask for a lot more money than what she was making.
Yeah, she wanted the recognition.
Yeah, she wanted recognition, but
I don't think she wanted the money. She just wanted the recognition.
Yeah, and I think what was really interesting was he said that, when it came down to dollars and donuts, she really didn't want to wrestle and be within a company where her ex-boyfriend was helping running the show, which makes a lot of sense.
It had to be hella awkward backstage.
It had to be, and I mean, here's the thing. It was such a secret for so long. Triple H and Joni, Paul and Joni dating for that long. It really only a few people ever really knew what was going on, but there was a lot of rumor and innuendo that they were sleeping.
Before we move on to the the next part of the thing. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Triple H and coming out on Stone Cold's podcast saying that she shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because of her video with X-Pac.
Well, she did more than just one video with X-Pac.
Yeah.
She had a whole porn career.
Yeah, she had, but the hypocrisy.
Oh yeah.
And I applaud Vince Russo for sticking up for Chyna.
Yeah. We'll get into Vince later too.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it was very hypocritical for Triple H to say, well, I don't want my 8-year-old daughter to Google Chyna and up comes her porn history, and here's the thing, she wanted to be an actress. She needed to make money. She wasn't pulling, she couldn't get into WCW. She wrestled in New Japan for a few matches. She needed to make money to support her and support, whatever habits that she had at that time as well. So she chose to go porn. Do I think that she was in her right mind when she made that decision? Absolutely not. I think she was so riddled with drugs and alcohol.
So she's dating X-Pac when she's in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that match was really good.
Oh, the one with Masahiro Chono? Yeah.
Was really, and the women were so on fire cheering for her.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, after the match, you could see that something's going on with her with drugs and
yeah, absolutely. I mean, what really sucked.
She's going by Chyna doll at the time.
Yeah, and what really hurt her, I think, is that which is something WWE is notorious for doing, which is if you leave WWE, they essentially erase you from their history, and that's what they did to Joni. They erased her. Chyna really didn't exist. There was no mention of her. There was no documentaries about her. They put out a DX documentary and excluded her from the video. She wasn't in it. And they have a way of rewriting their own history.
Some careful doctoring to get rid of Chyna. She was so prominent.
They found angles where she wasn't there. So eventually she starts dating Sean Waltman, also known as X-Pac, or the 1, 2, 3.
That was a toxic relationship.
Yeah. He made a very unique comment where he said, I'm doing my best to hide my addictions to meth from her, not realizing she's also hiding her addictions from him as well. And it's a toxic relationship. They were engaged and not engaged and engaged and not engaged. She was arrested for abuse. She slapped him. This is kind of the downfall of Chyna, because you're dealing with abuse of drugs, abuse of alcohol, probably self-medicating rather than, she's self-medicating rather than dealing with the issues that she has.
And you know what's so hard is she's by herself.
Yeah.
She's not connecting to family.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting because in the documentary, she left her mom's home at the age of 16 and never saw her again.
Her mom's first time seeing her in WWE is on TV. She had no clue.
Yeah. She's like, oh, it's Joni. Is that Joni? It's Joni. She knew it was her.
Yeah.
But, that's sad, that she was essentially eliminated from her. She chose it, obviously, because there was a lot of family issues, I'm sure. But, you're in the grips of a manic state. She was doing the Surreal Life on VH1. She was doing reality TV. She was not in her right mind. There was an episode of Howard Stern where she was basically combative and babbling and incoherent at times. And, you knew something was wrong with her.
Yeah.
And even when she was in celebrity rehab with Dr. Drew,
and let's get into that a bit. Then that was her manager again pushing her to be on that show.
Yeah,
because it's good for good publicity.
Yeah,
but no one ever gets the proper help they need on celebrity rehab.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
not legit.
say this: Dr. Drew does a lot of good. He's more prominent because of his talk show on the radio in New York and in K-Rock in Los Angeles. He's a celebrity psychiatrist, but he's an addiction specialist.
Yeah. But the thing about celebrity rehab is if you're going there to get your name out there, you're not going there to get better.
Yeah, no. And
No.
she wasn't, you know.
And a lot of the people going there are going there because you're addicted to the fame.
Yeah. Well, there's a scene in the documentary where Kathy, her sister, was talking to her, and she was abusive and combative, and she confronted Joni and said, "You need to go to rehab." And they took her to rehab, and 15 minutes later, she left.
Yeah.
And that's when you're dealing with that kind of addiction, and nothing in the world makes sense.
So now she gets into the porn industry.
Yeah.
This is after the Waltman video, One Night in China.
Yeah.
So she gets into the porn industry, and it does further damage to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it puts a stigma on you. You will never be taken serious as a filmmaker or an actress if you do porn. You don't know. It's very rare where an actor or an actress in porn can make the transition to Hollywood,
especially if you're a woman.
Yeah, especially if they're a woman. Let's talk about Anthony, her manager, because he did everything in his power to really keep her in the limelight, so to speak.
Okay, so right now he grabs her away from her peaceful, quiet life in Japan, pulls her back into the limelight, sees the money grab, Jake the Snake Roberts resurrection, wants to do the reconstruction of China.
Yep.
And he's pushing her into all these places she's not ready to go yet.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's not dealing with she's not dealing with her core issues, issues with her parents, her mom and her dad, the divorce, her father being an alcoholic and a drug addict. She's not dealing with this stuff. She's not taking care of herself, her mental health self, and she falls back into the same addictions and the same circle, and it's all attributed to the constant pressure and the pushing of Anthony, her manager. If you're looking for a villain in this documentary, he's it. Him and Eric, the director.
Yeah, Eric, the filmmaker.
Eric was doing drugs with her while they were in Vegas, and Anthony turned a blind eye to it, and kept pushing her to do stuff she wasn't ready to do mentally or physically.
They made her visit her dad's grave.
Yeah.
And she just broke down, and she wasn't ready for that.
No, and you knew that was a core issue of hers that she had dealt with. And then, the scene where she's on the phone and she's talking to Dr. Drew and she's talking about her medications, and Anthony brings up, she's on Percocet.
Oh yeah, he wants to hide it so she can keep her.
Yeah. He's like, oh, Dr. Drew's like, you shouldn't be on painkillers. And he's like, well, we can talk about that later. And it's just like,
he's an enabler, and he's just thinking about his cash cow.
Yeah. He calls himself her soulmate, which is absolutely disgusting. If anything, you're an enabling parasite more than you're
I would say parasite is the best name for Anthony Azaldo.
Yeah, he's just absolutely disgusting.
And he was pushing for the reunion with their mother.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to see that, but he's not doing it to mend the relationship between the mother and Joni Lawyer or Chyna, and he's doing it for cheap pops.
Yeah, exactly.
And with the Jake the Snake documentary, they're going through the work, they're doing the work, and he wants the results without doing the work. He's just like, let's do it.
Yeah, he wants to get the fame and the glamour at the same time while he is, pimping her out. He essentially is pimping her out.
He is.
And it's a shame because he sees himself as her savior. I'm the white knight on the white horse coming to save Joni and Chyna from all the things that are gone wrong in her life. And I'm going to get her back up to the top. And he does nothing but kill her. I mean,
one part where Chyna is reaching out to the filmmaker, Eric,
mm-hmm.
and she's reaching out. She's crying out for help.
Yeah.
And he just he's more interested in how does that make you feel, because it's going to be good for the film.
Yeah, while he's stoned.
Yeah, well, high on
heroin. Yeah. Who would have thought that Vince Russo would be the voice of reason in this documentary? I mean, those who don't know Vince
Russo, big reason behind her push too.
Yeah, I mean, if for those who don't know Vince Russo, Vince was a writer for WWE. The likelihood is, if it was a crazy storyline in the 90s in the Attitude Era, Vince Russo was behind it 100%. And he has a podcast and a video podcast where he talks to people about the business. And, for a few years, Joni was on there when she was living in Japan. She was a frequent guest. And I always enjoyed watching her talk to Vince about the business, with Vince Russo. But him being the voice of reason is the most uncanny thing.
Getting back to Eric really quickly.
Yeah.
So the night she died, she called Eric. Like they were really connected, probably not in a healthy way.
No.
But she reached out to Eric.
Yeah.
To come to the house.
Mm-hmm.
She needed him, and he didn't pick up, and she left the voicemail.
Yeah.
And that's the last we ever heard of Chyna.
Yeah. Anthony went to her apartment after she didn't post on social media for a while, for a few days. He went and found her. She was in her bed.
I think he's backing up a bit. I think she chatted out with Anthony and fired
she fired him. She fired him.
So, but she wasn't fired. She didn't fire Eric. So I think that strengthened their bond.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it really is a sad story when you're dealing with it, because I don't think she's been done dirty by a lot of people in her life, and a lot of it, and it comes back to that trust thing.
And the thing I really, that she didn't understand how much she meant to women all over the world.
Yeah, she had no idea.
She didn't get it. She didn't understand how much women around the world loved her.
Yeah,
and that was the hard thing for her not to know that. How much she meant to the wrestling fans, but
the wrestling fans loved her, and when you see Mick Foley holding back the tears, and it makes you understand exactly the role she had and what she played, but the effect she had on the boys in the backstage is huge. Her lasting legacy is basically this: you would not have Charlotte, Becky, you wouldn't have Lita, Beth Phoenix, Trish, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha without Chyna. This woman broke barriers and lessened the stigma of women wrestlers. They aren't a sideshow anymore, folks. They are front and center. And it really is, it's really, really.
I know that you told me that this documentary emotionally wrecked you watching it.
Yeah, I did. I was in tears watching it. I watched it twice. I watched it when it first got released, and then I watched it again in preparation for this podcast. And
even cold, heartless Jim Cornette said it made me feel like he wasn't a fan of Chyna, but he said it made me feel sorry for Chyna.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. When you're dealing with mental illness, I'm bipolar. I deal with anxiety and depression quite often. And, For years, I self-medicated with pot because it was the only thing that could shut me down and make me numb and not have to deal with my core issues and what the things that were really bothering me with my depression, with my anxiety. And when I got remarried to my wife now, she basically sat me down and said, you can't do this anymore. You got to do it the right way. And that's therapy and seeing a psychiatrist. And that's exactly what I did. I see a therapist once a week. I see my psychiatrist every month. And, we dialed in with medication, and I don't abuse the medication. I take it exactly how I'm supposed to take it. I dealt with my addictions, and, the sad part is that she didn't have someone there to tell her, you're doing this wrong. Here's the deal. And Dr. Drew, I'm sure, tried to do the best that he could. But when you're dealing with someone in a mental
so many people betrayed her and left her out to dry that she felt like she had no one.
She probably thought Dr. Drew was just like everybody else, trying to hitch a ride on the Chyna train. And
I just my opinion, but I really think all she wanted was a place to belong and have family.
Yeah.
And I don't think she had that for a while in the WWE, but then again, it just got thrown out the window, and she really just wanted to make it back there.
Yeah. And it's really sad. If you want a good cry, watch this documentary. If you want to be mad at the people that failed her in her career and in her life, watch the documentary, because you're going to get it front and center.
And it's a good call out.
Yeah.
To stick up for those people who need you.
Yeah.
Like to be there for somebody who's struggling, and to just be there for them.
Yeah. There are people with mental illness issues that, don't have access to therapists.
They self-medicate. And they're not a drug addict. They're just trying to figure a way out of this.
And so reach out to these people, because, you never know how great somebody's life appears to be on the shell. You don't know what's going on the inside. There are times where I've been close to wanting to end it, and, it sucks. It sucks to be in that headspace, and that's exactly where she was, and I've battled that depression before, and it sucks. It just totally sucks. And
to lighten the mood, let's talk about some of her better matches.
Okay. There's two matches that come to light. The first one is when she beat Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental Championship.
That's on my list too. Which one?
The first one. I can't remember it.
So she had the one with SummerSlam in '99, which was really good too. And then they were co-Intercontinental champions. Leave it to Vince to do that.
Yeah. And the SummerSlam one was probably my favorite. Her first
Chyna versus Jarrett.
Yeah.
Was great.
It was amazing.
WCW as someone who wouldn't hit a woman, and
yeah, exactly. And her first appearance, when she jumped that rail, I was like, holy shit, who the hell is this? I was like, I've never seen anybody so physically imposing as her.
There was that time she won the Corporate Rumble.
Yes, I do remember that.
On Raw in 1999.
Yep.
And her match against Lita and Judgment for Judgment Day 2001. Yep. That was a great match as well.
It was a great match.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
So,
because you had a high flyer like Lita, and you had a ground and pound like Chyna, and those two shouldn't mesh together, but they totally did. They totally meshed together. So. Well, that is our episode 19.
Let's promote the shirts and everything.
Yes, we got the shirts.
We both. They're perfect.
You can go to prowrestlingtees.com/effing wrestling to get your gear. We have 2 shirts with many ideas popping in our head.
We got shirts turning and churning.
Yeah, always.
And the last day of the sale for 20% off is today.
Yeah, it's today.
So if you're from Canada, type in code Canada. If you're from the US, type in USA.
Yep.
And
I think that's it. Oh, on that note.
oh wait, just a second. We can
Okay.
So make sure that you also subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Subscribe to the podcast here.
Yep.
And
you can find us on social media, which is at the end of
All F and Wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on our Facebook group.
Yep. And join our prediction league. All F and Wrestling prediction league is a lot of fun. You can face me and Canada Dry, and you can win a pretend belt. All you gotta do is outpredict us. It's not that hard. It's very simple. Now, on that note, has Hulk Hogan gone back to you?
Hulk Hogan is dodging me at every chance. I feel like he's hiding. So Hulk Hogan, is it 5 or 6?
It's 6.
Hulk Hogan, I got 6 victories and you got 0.
0, baby.
On that note, ding, 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 ding.